This sudden change in circumstances stunned even the crown prince. As he heard the man's voice, he was the first one to turn around to look at him. He did not know when this tall and imposing man appeared beside Huang Yuli. He was dressed in a black robe, while his robe sleeves and chest were embroidered with golden cloud designs. It seemed low-key and arrogant but also contained an indescribable noble grace. His white skin was like the moonlight, a silver mask fitting on the top half of his face. But two was enough to see his angular facial contours. His jawline beautifully sculpted, thin lips pursed and with an isolated grace. Just by standing there quietly, he created an aura that could not be ignored. An imposing manner, wholly displaying his overbearing arrogance. "You, who are you?" The crown prince looked at him guarded and asked. At his first glance towards the man, he intuitively felt threatened. The man coldly hooked his mouth. Sweeping a glance to Huang Yuli, he said, "Her man, did you not hear?" 3 black lines appeared on Huang Yuli's forehead. Spinning around, she fiercely glared at the man. "Hey! Enough, can you not speak nonsense? When did you become my man? These kinds of words, can you announce it so randomly? I have no relationship with you." The man chuckled out loud. "What does it matter? If you speak like this, it makes this lord too heartbroken, for we have an intimate relationship, a business relationship." When he said those words, he only whispered the last 3 words. Only Huang Yuli could hear them, while the passerbys who were listening to the conversation only heard the words intimate relationship. For a time, all kinds of amazed expression were seen in their eyes as they stared at the two. "My lord! What is this? So the scandal third young Miss Bai had was true. The male in question has also appeared." People exclaimed. Silence. One of her companions hurriedly placed their hand on her mouth. With this man's imposing aura, his cultivation is probably higher than the crown prince's. This kind of person, can you afford to offend? It's best if we quickly leave. When did South Yu possess such a strong person? Could he have come from another country for the auction? Do you think he will starting a fight with the crown prince? The young girl who just recently held a love-struck expression for the crown prince, had already turned her gaze towards that man. Furthermore, she completely ignored the crown prince standing too far away. It was like she had forgotten she was just recently smitten by the crown prince's appearance. How can that be? South Yu still has such a handsome and dashing young man. That's right. And he is really so strong. His Highness the Crown Prince is not his match, right? A variety of opinions arose, while the Crown Prince's face turned darker and darker. As the Crown Prince of South Yu and the #1 genius, he was born with dignity and strength. Complemented with his handsome appearance, he thought quite highly of himself. He felt that no man could compare to him. But the man beside Huang Yuli just exposed half of his face. And that half was enough to show to everyone, regardless of looks or temperament, he was 100 times better than himself. Furthermore, that domineeringly almost suffocating aura from his body clearly displayed that he was many times stronger too. Compared to him, he was as small as an ant. You can also listen on. This man, in the end, where did he come from? What realm had he reached? Why was he unable to guess his cultivation? More importantly, why was he together with the Bai family's 3rd young miss? He also said, that trash was his woman. Clenching his teeth, the crown prince resentfully swept his eyes over the pair. The man was quite tall and handsome, with a strong pair of unfathomable eyes. The girl who stood beside those shorter than him by a head only had a delicate appearance. Yet she possessed unsulliable atmosphere about her, light and graceful as the clouds. When this pair stood together, they seemed to complement each other well. Like a match made in heaven. Moreover, they completely suppressed the crown prince and by Ruochi. The crown prince bit his teeth and said, "May I dare ask for your family name?" The man looked at him indifferently, "Just by you. You do not have the qualifications of learning his lord's name." The crown prince had never suffered such loathing from someone before. He nearly aged drastically from anger. As he gazed at the mysterious man, his tone turned a bit harsh. "This distinguished one should know that this is South Yu's territory, while this one is South Yu's crown prince. Though your cultivation is indeed very high, but a dragon should not provoke snake in its territory. Since you have come to South Yu, you should abide obediently by my country's rules." As the man's lips arched into a charming curve, he caused the surrounding girls to squeal out. But the words he spat out were unbelievably overbearing and cold. "Crown Prince? What thing? Get lost." The crown prince did not expect this. The man would be so dismissive of the distinguished title he was most proud of. But also told him to get lost. He nearly shattered his teeth. "Distinguished guest, why must you be so blunt? Do you not think it is a bit excessive? Though South Yu may be small, it still has hidden masters. Must you force things to the point of no return?" Prince was aware that he was definitely not the man's opponent, but he could not tuck in his tail and escape. He especially could not do this in front of the citizens of South Yu who respected him so much. This face, he cannot afford to lose. Furthermore, the fact that he had come to participate in this third-level profound armament auction indicated he came from a nearby third-leveled power at most. Though South Yu was a small country, it still had an ancestor at the fourth realm. He had always resided in the palace. If this man was not stupid, he should be afraid of the consequences. Would he really dare to bully the country's crown prince? However, the crown prince still predicted wrongly. The mysterious man did not put him in his eyes at all. The aura his released only increased. The suppressive aura released by someone more powerful was hard to resist. Bai Ruochi immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Face pale, she fell to the ground. While the crown prince used a skill in hopes of defending himself. But the mysterious man's suppressive might was as heavy as Mount Tai. Layer by layer is descended, the difference between their strengths was as large as the distance between the earth and sky. Face flushed, it took all of the crown prince's perseverance not to kneel. But he still took steps backwards. 1 step. 2 steps. 3 steps. After placing a distance of about 10 feet between them, did his face resume a more normal hue. His footsteps stopped then. Only then did the mysterious man restrain his aura. He did not give the crown prince a second glance, but turned directly towards Huang Yuli. His gaze filled with surprise and appreciation. He had easily suppressed South Yu's acclaimed genius. The crown prince had taken many steps backwards in retreat, yet his little fox's expression still remained in its usual graceful manner. So much that only faint smile hung on her face after watching that good show. You can also listen on. Under such an imposing aura, for a woman to be like him, this was the first time he had met one. This little fox really is not simple. Again and again she gave him surprises. Not only was she black-bellied, sly and courageous, she was also a rare refining genius. And now she had just displayed her overwhelmingly strong spiritual talent. What was this little fox incapable of? The man's burning gaze was too focused on Huang Yuli. Oddly, she turned to him and asked, "What's the matter?" The man chuckled. His voice was low and magnetic, a unique charm. "Nothing. Go, the auction will soon start. If we dally any longer, we will be late." Huang Yuli reacted quickly, "That's right. Hurry, hurry, I have waited many days. Such an important event, definitely cannot be late." Io, why are you so slow? Hurry up a bit. As she urged the man, she impatiently stomped her foot. Swiftly she strode to the main entrance. From beginning to end, she did not spare the crown prince and Bai Ruoqi a single glance. As if the two most famous people in South Yu were equal to two beggars on the roadside. The man shook his head amusedly and picked up pace, chasing her. This little girl really, obviously she was the first to start trouble and delayed them. Yet insisted that he was too slow-moving. Really overbearing and proud, but it still made him feel she was so cute. This time, Thousand Treasure Pavilion's guard did not stop Huang Yuli. When they saw their lord owner behind her, the guards all secretly shivered filled with reverence. One by one, they respectfully bowed their heads welcoming them inside. They didn't dare to breathe too loudly. Before the two disappeared, silence continued to reign on the street before heating up like a sizzling pan. My lord. That was just too frightening. What origins does that man have? Why was he so scary? My clothes are all soaked in sweat. That's right, too strong. He just stood there and the surrounding temperature fell by so much. I was trembling so much. Too horrifying. Not just you, even the crown prince in front of him, also could not lift his head. This was really incredible. Did they not to say that the crown prince was the #1 genius of our country? That man certainly did not look old, at most in his early 20s, about the same age as the crown prince. But the strength of the two, the gap is too big. A people beyond people, a sky beyond a sky. The crown prince is only the most talented in South Yu, while there are many more powerful people in the South Sky region, also right. Could that man be a genius from a local sect? Who knows? Well, apart from Lord Bai Lu Feng, we really do not have any other powerhouses. No other praiseworthy talents. His Royal Highness is only so. When the crown prince heard the various discussions, his slender fingers clenched over his heart, shaking from anger. How could it be? This man looked to be about the same age as him, how could be so much stronger than him? In front of him, he was just like an ant. Unable to put up the slightest resistance. Too strong. Moreover, that mysterious did not hold back. Mercilessly humiliating him in South Yu, on his own streets. The crown prince recalled his shameful scene of being suppressed. Furthermore, it was in front of so many people, and they had said he was only so. You can also listen on. Through the entirety of his 20 years, he was man sought after by many. For a man who considered himself so well, there was nothing worse than being humiliated and in front of such a large crowd. This is the biggest disgrace of his life. But that man was really too strong. The crown prince did not think that he wouldn't be able to put up any resistance in front of him. He could not swallow it, but had no choice but to swallow it. After a while, he gradually calmed down. Standing up straight, his expression still indifferent. Because Bai Ruoqi could not bear that man's suppression and vomited out blood, it was only now that she regained conscious. She could barely move as she stood up from the ground. She bitterly looked at Huang Yuli's back view. Her face unable to conceal her look of jealousy. That little slut, how could she know such a powerful man? Even the crown prince was not his opponent. What kind of master could he be? It was hard to imagine. And that man protected the little slut. In order to vent for her, he publicly disgraced the crown prince. What was good about that thing? Her looks are not outstanding, possessed a scrawny build and a good-for-nothing at cultivation. The trash of trash. Was that man blind? How could he fancy her? What sorcery did that slut use? Raging with jealousy, Bai Ruoqi's heart was burning like a great fire. At this time, the Crown Prince's frosty voice sounded in her ear. What are you still standing around dazed for? With a quick quiver, Bai Ruoqi reacted, Your Highness Crown Prince. The Crown Prince's face was not very good, cold sweat appeared on Bai Ruoqi's back. She feared that the Crown Prince would be like Bai Lu Jing and take his anger out on her. Fortunately, the Crown Prince had regained some composure, and did not take out his anger on a woman. Instead he asked, That man, is he the man your third sister had an affair with? What are his origins? Bai Ruoqi shook her head, I do not know. The man we encountered last time definitely was not him. I don't know how that little, third sister came to know him. Prince looked at her gloomily, You are sisters, how could you not know? Useless thing. Go find out for me. Listening to this, Bai Ruoqi secretly complained. She and Huang Yuli were no different from enemies. How could they still be called sisters? Where would she go inquire about Bai Ruoqi's affairs? Unfortunately, the Crown Prince ordered her, she could not reject him. The Crown Prince's face eased up and said, Walk. He did not care if Bai Ruoqi could keep up and left first. Bai Ruoqi was stunned momentarily before she realized that the Crown Prince was actually walking in the direction of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Chasing him, she prudently asked, Crown Prince, where do you intend to go? The Crown Prince replied curtly, The auction. Do you not have eyes? Being scolded like so, Bai Ruoqi lowered in her head in silence. Inwardly she puzzled over why the Crown Prince would proceed to attend the auction. He was humiliated in front of such a crowd today, even she felt that she could not raise her head. She wished to dig a hole and hide herself there. Was her self-esteem 100 times greater than the Crown Prince's? Not finding a place to hide, but proceeding to participate in the auction. With a sullen face, the Crown Prince did not explain. He certainly knew that his face was sweeping the ground. But he had no choice but to stay and not leave. The reason being today's auction was releasing a profound armor set. He had great use for it. He must definitely purchase that. You can also listen on. 5 years prior, the Crown Prince was accepted into Celestial Light Subordinate, Celestial Light School. Celestial Light sect is known as the most powerful sect of the South Sky region. While Celestial Light School is also the most famous martial school in South Sky region. The students it accepts annually were chosen from the best of the hundreds of countries. Each of them were the most talented of their respective countries. Though the Crown Prince was the genius of South Yu, when he entered Celestial Light School, he but an ordinary student. Even though he became a core student, his ranking was not at the front. Every year, Celestial Light School would choose a couple of core students and recruit them officially as Celestial Light sect disciples. Every year the Crown Prince would participate in the selections in hopes to become an official disciple. But every year he would fail. This year was his last chance. If he could not become an official disciple of Celestial Light sect, he must graduate from Celestial Light School. Once he left Celestial Light School with its rich resources and strength, he could only return to a tiny South Yu to cultivate. In his entire life, he would only be able to reach the fourth realm, the Dan Profound realm. That would be his limit. The Crown Prince was not willing to leave this way. He wanted to seize this last chance. So when he heard that Thousand Treasure Pavilion would be auctioning a third-level profound armor set, he was simply ecstatic. This was what he lacked the most. If he was able to obtain that, it would significantly enhance his strength in the short term. Not only would this profound armor increase his defense by 3 folds, it also held an additional offensive skill. Such a high-quality profound armament was simply unheard of. And this profound armor was only a third-leveled one. He would be able to display the majority of its ability with his defensive profound realm cultivation. Such a good thing, while also being held in Southview. It was simply tailored to be his. The Crown Prince already assumed that he owned the item. As long as he possessed that profound armor, he would definitely shine in this year's disciple selection, sweeping away his opponents and becoming one of Celestial Light Sect's disciples, climbing to a new peak. When he thought of this, the Crown Prince's mood soared. What he did not expect to encounter before entering Thousand Treasure Pavilion's doors was by Rollercoasters. That cursed girl ruthlessly slapped his face. Despite the loss, but he could not leave. If he left now, then that set of profound armor would never be his. Considering over it, the Crown Prince had a struggling battle. In the end, he decided to eat that small loss and endure. All for obtaining that profound armor set. As long as he became a disciple of Celestial Light Sect and his cultivation increasing, wouldn't it be all too easy to deal with by Rollercoasters and that man? No matter how high his cultivation was, how powerful his background was, could he contend against South Sky Region's #1 sect? Repeating this, the Crown Prince consoled himself and barely controlled himself. Not glancing sideways, he ignored the mocking gazes and discussions of the crowd and walked straight to the door. Who would think that he would be stopped at the door by the guard? "Your Royal Highness, Crown Prince, please halt." While the Crown Prince was carrying a belly full of anger, he was stopped by a mere guard. He dared to oppose him, not wishing to live. "Move aside. Do you know who I am?" The Crown Prince's eyes displayed an ominous glint. Guard maintained an expressionless gaze. "Your Royal Highness, this common one naturally knows your identity. Unfortunately, only VIP guests are able to enter through the VIP entrance. These are the rules of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. You can also listen on." With an angry smile, the Crown Prince took out a letter. "Look at it carefully. This is an invitation personally given to this royal by your Thousand Treasure Pavilion. And you tell this royal to get lost." However, the guard did not make any concession. "Your Royal Highness, we have just received orders from our superiors stating that the VIP seating is fully occupied. It is not we are unwilling to let you in, we are really sorry. If you must participate in the auction, please enter from general admission." "What did you say?" "You have already given me an invitation letter, why is there not enough seats? Are you playing me?" The guard disdainfully glanced at the Crown Prince. Offending their Lord Owner and still wished to enter the VIP seating. When the Lord Owner entered, he deliberately left those words. How could he allow the Crown Prince inside? He cast a gaze that was neither frosty or heated towards the Crown Prince. "We are very sorry. The number of prepared rooms originally was enough. But a distinguished guest had unexpectedly came today. In order to give them a position, we could only wrong you, Your Highness." The Crown Prince's face rapidly changed. "What do you mean? What distinguished guest? Are they more important than this royal? This royal would like to see which distinguished guest dares to take this royal seat. What can you be considered as? Dare to obstruct this royal?" His anger erupted out. First he had been slapped in the face, and then Thousand Treasure Pavilion obstructed his entry into the auction. One matter after another, all of these were grinding his face into the ground. Now, even a door guard also didn't put him in his eyes. The Crown Prince could no longer maintain his graceful and calm demeanor. Without a thought, he struck out towards the guard's chest. A defensive Profound Realm 7th level strike was no small matter. The Crown Prince's palm strike contained the powers of the heaven and earth. In an instant the surrounding atmosphere seemed to solidify. A burst of exclamations ensued. They all thought that the courageous guard was unfortunate. Who knew that the guard did not have much of a reaction? Calmly he stepped back and avoided the Crown Prince's attack. "Your Royal Highness, please do not forget the rules of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. If you must cause a ruckus in Thousand Treasure Pavilion, I am afraid you can no longer participate in today's auction. The tone of the guard did not change. Nor did it seem like he was angry after being attacked. But the Crown Prince's heart was deeply shocked. Although he had only used half of his strength in the attack, that guard had easily escaped. That stated the guard's cultivation was no less than his own. A trifling guard had such high ability. Then the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion, what cultivation level did he reach? His heart shook in terror and immediately did not dare continue to be rash. But to be ushered to general admission, he was not reconciled. He still wanted to argue, okay. This royal can comply with Thousand Treasure Pavilion's rules, but who took this royal seat? This cannot be a secret right. That guard replied, it is the one who just entered. Wu Wei Manor's third young Miss Bai. When Bai Ruoqi heard this, her heart burned with rage. Bursting out, she questioned her. What qualifications does she have to enter VIP seating? She dare climb onto top of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Why does she not reflect on her status? Hurry up and make her shut up. The guard did not say a word. On the contrary, it was the Crown Prince who had turned around to scold her. Did Bai Ruoqi not have a brain? Bai Ruoli naturally had no qualifications to enter the VIP seating. The reason why she could enter was all due to accompanying that mysterious man. Although he did not know the identity of that man, but he dare not offend him. You can also listen on. Never in his wildest dreams did the Crown Prince believe Huang Yuli would be able to enter the VIP room without the help of that man. Ironically, she was the creator of that profound armor set which he so dearly longed for. With unparalleled and extraordinary skills, a third-tier armament master. But the Crown Prince knew he could only endure and bow his head. Since that VIP guest took the room, it is my honor to let them have it. I trouble you to pass on a word for me. Tell them everything that just happened was all a big misunderstanding. I ask that he does not continue to bother about it. Remaining calm, the guard replied, I will remember Your Royal Highness orders. Please. The tone in which he spoke in was not polite, but the Crown Prince could not do anything. Turning his body, he could only walk to the door of general admissions. Fortunately, there were some ordinary wealthy merchants and aristocratics at the end of the door line. When they saw the Crown Prince approach, they knew he was in the midst of a fit. No one dared to provoke him. Automatically they cleared a path for him and allowed him first entry. At that moment, Huang Yuli and the Lord Owner were seated within the most luxurious room of Thousand Treasure Pavilions. It was located on the 3rd floor. This room was not only the most comfortable, but the room that held the best view. Sitting there, you could easily oversee the entire auction. On the table were pre-prepared clear red grass tea and various small pastries. Each and every one were Huang Yuli's favorites. Raising her eyebrows, Huang Yuli looked at the man. Looks like that a spy has weaseled into my kitchen. The man laughed wantonly and frivolously. What food this lord's madam likes to eat, how can I not know? If I wronged this lord's madam, it would be highly distressing. Polish. Those 3 phrases will not produce ivory. Huang Yuli stared at him, too lazy to refute him. This man's skin was too thick. She did not want to waste her saliva. Watching her actions, a ghost of smile once again appeared on the man's face. Inching closer to her, his slender fingers picked up a crystal jujube cake and brought it to her mouth. Little girl, we rode all morning. Are you hungry? Eat some snacks. A moment of carelessness, the man once again closed up to her. Without any politeness, Huang Yuli bluntly said, Stay away from me. I am not used to, She was not able to finish her sentence, her mouth stuffed with pastries, nearly choking. Puffing out her cheeks, she vigorously chewed the pastries. Her bright pair of eyes glaring at the man. It was during that moment a burst of noise erupted from the ground floor seats. Hurriedly, the man pointed to something behind her. Quickly look. The cheap fiancé has appeared. Originally, Huang Yuli had already withdrew a handful of flying needles. She intended to teach this man a lesson for wanting a mile after giving him an inch. When she heard his cry, she stopped her movements and turned. Downstairs, the crown prince sullenly sat down in the general seating. His body releasing enough pressure to freeze someone to death. As for the one who assumed she would be the future imperial concubine, the arrogant and prideful Bai Ruoqi was covered dirt. Her clothes disorderly, her entire body trembled as she followed the crown prince. She feared that he would burst out in anger. TSK. Really a match made in heaven. Propping her chin, Huang Yuli beamed. The owner chuckled beside her and wiped the residue pastries from the side of her mouth. But immediately withdrew his hand when her expression changed. This lord does not understand. Since you are so nauseated by them, why do you still allow them to enter the auction? You tell them to get lost and not continue to feel disgusted from seeing them. That would be good. Ha! Huang Yuli gave him a side glance. How can here be such a convenient thing? For the ones who dare bully me, if I don't extort all the money they own, I will change my surname to yours. You can also listen on. Sinisterly, Huang Yuli grinned towards the crown prince and Bai Ruoqi. Her gaze was daggers, butchering away the meat in front of her. Her drool practically falling from her mouth. When the man saw her impressive expression, he couldn't help but shake his head in amusement. This little fox was fiercer than himself. Stingier than him. Really pitied those two blind people for offending her. Even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin. Furthermore, why did he find her cunning appearance so adorable? These two people sat leisurely in the private room. One was high-spirited, looking down below and calculating how to earn the best profit from cheating others. While the other was raptly focused on the female beside him, wondering how to please her. This scene looked very harmonious and beautiful. Shortly afterwards, the ordinary seats were all filled. There were a total of 1,000 seats, each one occupied, while the doors were crowded with people who failed to obtain tickets. A scholarly and refined middle-aged man walked onto the auction stage. He was not someone unknown, but Thousand Treasure Pavilion's very own shopkeeper Sunday. He was a well-known person in South Yu. With his appearance the clamoring also quieted down. An auction like this, that had attracted the attention of so many, was finally beginning. Dear fellow guests, I welcome you all to Thousand Treasure Pavilion's annual auction. As you all may know, each and every year Thousand Treasure Pavilion would present all sorts of rare and valuable treasures, never disappointing the masses. This year, also won't fail to meet your expectations. On the contrary, many of you may have already via your own methods have some knowledge towards some items on sale this year. I am able to inform everyone, apart from the information we have revealed, we still have many surprises for you all. Please look forward to it. Though shopkeeper's son's cultivation may not be high, he was very shrewd in business. With a few words, he had heated up the overall mood of the entire venue. While the gazes of the guests below became blazing. Shopkeeper's son, don't waste words and quickly start the auction. That's right. Your words cannot prove much. Whatever goods you have, hurry up and bring them out for us to see. There were a few people who impatiently called out. Shopkeeper's son merely chuckled. It seems that everyone here is itching for the auction to start. Then this one will not longer delay. This auction shall officially start. A maid steadily walked on stage. In her hands was a covered silver tray. A red silk cloth was hiding the contents on that silver tray, blocking all vision towards the concealed good. Lightly, shopkeeper's son lifted up the cloth to reveal a long scroll. The first item in for sale is a yellow level upper grade profound skill, Golden Yuan Finger. This yellow level upper grade scroll's rarity should be known by everyone. What is worth mentioning is the paralyzing effect of the Golden Yuan Finger. Enemies struck by this skill will lose all mobility within 3 breaths. Of course, if the opponent's cultivation is greater than your own, then its effects will be greatly reduced. Moreover, this profound skill also has a restriction. This skill can only be learnt by those who metal-attributed practitioners. Smilingly, shopkeeper's son briefly introduced the item. This profound skill starting price is 10,000 silvers. I asked distinguished guests to begin their bids. It was actually a yellow level upper grade profound skill. No one would have imagined that the auction held by Thousand Treasure Pavilion this would be this impressive. The first item available was a yellow level upper grade profound skill. It also carried a special skill, 10 times more valuable than an ordinary skill of the same level. You can also listen on. One had to know that the cultivational standards of South Yu and its surrounding countries was not that high. Even a long-standing martial family like the Bai family only possessed 2 yellow-level upper-grade profound skills. In an instant, everyone was stirred to great agitation. As shopkeeper's son was introducing on the stage, there were already several guests who were itching to bid. Just the words left his mouth, someone had already placed the first bid. 12,000 silvers. 15,000 silvers. 16,000 silvers. 30,000. Rapidly, the price of the scroll soared up, reaching the 30,000 threshold. On the 3rd floor, Huang Yulik shook her head in response to the fiery reactions of the crowd below. The resources of South Yu were just too appalling. It was only a yellow-level profound skill and could still cause such a clamor. One should know that the cultivation technique she had imparted to Kai Wei were black-level upper grade. Furthermore, cultivation manuals were 100 times more valuable than profound skills. While the man had not so much glanced at the auction, all his attention was focused on the little fox. Watching her shake her head, a soft smile formed. The frenzy continued on for a bit, with the final price settling down at 50,000 silvers. This price did not exceed Huang Yuli's expectations as this profound skill's paralyzing effect was quite good. But it only allowed metal-attributed people to cultivate, severely cutting its value. Those participating in this round are all families who possess metal-attributed talents. This determined that the price would not go too high. However, with the first product already sold at 50,000 silvers, in the history of this Thousand Treasure Pavilion this was a first. This indicated that the remaining portion of the auction will be exciting. As predicted, the items taken out began more and more precious. While the prices also rose to more stunning degrees and the moods of the guests below became more and more fervent. Under the expectantly gazes of the guests, shopkeeper's son pulled off another silk cloth from the silver tray. This time, a small porcelain bottle stood in the center of the tray. It was about half the size of a palm, nothing too outstanding. But the guests below the stage were once again aroused. The reason being that only cultivational pills were stored in these porcelain bottles. This ensured that the medicinal properties of the pills would not be lost or dissipate. Unfortunately, the manufacturing costs of these type of bottle were too high, and only precious pills would be normally in such bottles. Following, shopkeeper's son's beaming smiling unraveled the mystery. Esteemed guests, stored within this little bottle are second-level middle-grade pills, spirit-raising pills. Spirit-raising pills. It's actually spirit-raising pills. It is said that the ingredients needed in producing these spirit-raising pills are very hard to find. The pill formation rate is also very low, so it would already be very good for ordinary second-tiered alchemists to refine 1 or 2 pills from 10 tries. Listening to the discussions below the stage, shopkeeper's son stroked his beard beaming. That is correct. Esteemed guests, you are people who can recognize a product's value. Towards cultivators, the spirit-raising pill is a rare and valuable item. For practitioners at the Chi Profound realm, they would directly be able to increase their cultivations by 1 to 3 levels. Even ordinary people who are unable to cultivate, if you take 10 or more of these pills, you will also be able to step into the ranks of martial practitioners. Pausing momentarily, he continued, but the most important part of the spirit-raising pills are their ability to allow Chi Profound 9th level practitioners to break through to the defensive Profound realm. It is well known that defensive Profound realm is the first bottleneck for any practitioner. A great majority of cultivators are unable to pass this wall, stopping forever at the 9th level of the Chi Profound realm. Countless of cultivational talents, because of this bottleneck, wasted great amounts of time and their own potential. Now, if you are able to obtain this bottle of spirit-raising pills, that problem will no longer be a problem. You can also listen on. There are about 10 spirit-raising pills within this bottle. The sale price shall begin at 10,000 silvers. Please begin your bids. You could not miss how very provocative shopkeeper's son's words were. Many South U martial practitioners were stuck at the bottleneck of the 9th level of the Chi Profound realm. If they were to become defensive Profound realm practitioners, they would automatically become a well-known and powerful name. They could even receive an official title from the emperor. This bottle of spirit-raising pills was something many dreamed of obtaining. For those cultivational talents in various families, those pills will be able to decrease the amount of time they spend in the Chi Profound realm. It quite useful. So this round of bidding became the most clamorous. In an instant the price for the spirit-raising pills jumped from 10,000 all the way to 30,000. Jumping straight to 30,000 caused the bidders to drastically decrease in number. After all, the number of people at the 9th level of the Chi Profound realm were in the minority and few were wealthy. A sum of 50,000 was a sum they could not possibly imagine or support. But for those with a great background, 50,000 was not too much. It merely signaled the start of a battle. 35,000. 40,000. 45,000. 50,000. The final 2 bidders in this round were a renowned feudal family, the Liu families Ding Guo Liu and the Marshal Jing family. Inside the private room, Huang Yuli was bored to death, listening to those calls. Her slender white fingers picked up a teacup. Her head tilted, she gracefully took a sip of tea. Her motion caused her snow-white neck to be exposed, immediately drawing the man's gaze. The man's gaze traveled down her delicate neck, loitering at her collarbone before continuing downwards, to discover that clothes were covering the rest. He could only regretfully avert his gaze. Sensing his gaze, Huang Yuli suspiciously cast him a glance. What are you looking at? Naturally he would not reveal his wicked thoughts. Coolly and composed, he returned his gaze back towards her, smiling. What? Why are you not bidding for that bottle of spirit-raising pills? Huang Yuli shrugged her shoulders in response. No interest. His eyebrows arched. Your meridians are blocked and unable to cultivate. If you were to take those spirit-raising pills, it may help your condition. If you don't have enough money, this lord can lend you the money. No need, I really have no interest. Since her physique was special, she was different from those people who could not cultivate. No matter how many of those spirit-raising pills she ingested, they would not have any effect. Otherwise, she would have long thought of a method to obtain those spirit-raising pills. Why would she wait until today? The man was a bit confused and squinted his eyes. Looks like the secrets on this little fox's body were not little. Unable to cultivate and still this composed, her emotions stable even the face of pills that could change her physique. whilst also possessing the rare ability to refine profound armaments. Huang Yuli was able to sense that man's gaze, but she did not wish to explain. She continued to drink her tea. While the calls below did not cease, but the range of calls became smaller and smaller. Reaching that price, even towards a feudal family, it was a price that needed consideration and more consideration. 73,000. 74,000. 75,000. After the Dingguolu stated that price, the spectacle paused for a moment. Hesitating, Marquis Jing bit down and decided to bid. While Dingguolu became more and more ecstatic. A woman's clear laughter could be heard. 100,000. You can also listen on. 100,000. This sum really exceeded the market price. Normally, a bottle of spirit-raising pills would be worth around 70 to 80,000 silvers. Reaching 100,000 had greatly surpassed its value. In an instant all gazes turned towards the one who called that sum. God, how could this be? Would the person who could call out 100,000 silvers be sitting in the general area? That's right, how could that be? That tycoon is so lavious. Does she know she is fighting with Dingguolu? Is she not afraid that she would offend some people? Wait a moment. The person who bid looks to be Wu Wei Manor's second young miss. And the person beside her, is that not the crown prince? What? Let me see, it really is. Why is the crown prince sitting in the crowded general admission and not in a private room? Who knows? He probably wants to experience an auction's atmosphere for once. But now that you mention it, it's no wonder that second young Miss Bai called out such a sum so forthrightly, suppressing those two families. Turns out she has the support of the crown prince. The bidder really was Bai Ruoqi. For a long time, she had coveted the spirit-raising pills. The reason for her trip to the auction was all for the sake of those spirit-raising pills. This year, like Bai Ruoyan, she intended to take part in South Sky Region's district exam for the various top martial schools. As one of the few female geniuses of South Yu, her target was naturally the same as the crown prince towards the best, the impressive and famous Celestial Light College. Unfortunately, in comparison to the various geniuses within Celestial Light College, the fourth-grade talented that she was so proud of was nothing extraordinary. And a cultivation of Qi Profound Realm 7th level was considered somewhat low. Before examinations commence, she planned to break through to the Qi Profound Realm 9th level. Originally this goal was a bit hard to achieve. But with the appearance of the spirit-raising pills, everything had changed. Not only could she reach her goal, she also could break through to the defensive profound realm. Aged 15 and reaching the second stage in cultivation, the defensive profound realm was definitely rare. This allowed her to have a 90% assurance of entering Celestial Light College. Bai Lu Jing had also placed great expectations in his second daughter. As a result, he had taken out half of Wu Wei Manor's silvers to given them to Bai Ruoqi for her to spend at the auction. Bai Ruoqi was determined to win that bottle of spirit-raising pills. Once her high bid was set, she had essentially shocked everyone present. The grandson of the Liu family was also a fourth-grade talent. The reason for his bidding also so that his grandson would be able to successfully break through. He did not expect for the pills to almost reach his grasp but then snatched away. He boiled with anger. Originally his face completely portrayed his fury, wishing to see which bastard sitting in general admission dared to fight against him for his things. But once he saw the person, it turned out to be Bai Ruoqi. And the person beside was His Highness the Crown Prince. In this situation, how did the Liu family dare to say anything? Cautiously he lowered his head in unwilling resignation. Stopping for a time and seeing that no one wished to call out any more bids, shopkeeper's son began his countdown. 100,000 once. 100,000 twice. The gloomy expression that Bai Ruoqi had carried for an entire morning finally began to brighten again. As long as she obtained those spirit-raising pills, she would be able to become a defensive profound realm expert. That cheap slut Bai Ruoqi, no matter what foxly charms she possessed to be able to seduce her man, what would she able to do then? How could she possibly compare to her strength and talent? You can also listen on. Hearing Huang Yuli's new bid, Bai Ruoqi nearly forgot to breathe. This little slut was not done. The price is already so high, yet she dared to increase. Under her conjecture, Bai Ruoqi believed that Huang Yuli really wanted this bottle of spirit-raising pills. Her third younger sister was born a wastrel, how would she be fit to use such pills? She should just live with her fate. Face ashen, Bai Ruoqi really wished to pull Bai Ruoqi out to give her a nice beating. 100,000. It's already 100,000. Are there any other bidders? Shopkeeper's son was laughing through his teeth, urging for more bids. Bai Ruoqi's heart burned furiously, as she truly wanted this bottle of pills. But she had no more money. At this moment the crown prince turned around and looked at her to say, "If you want to continue to bid, I can give you 20,000 silvers." Bai Ruoqi was the only girl who possessed fourth-grade talent in South Yu, and only she could match him. If there were no incidents, she would mostly become his imperial concubine. The crown prince naturally hoped Bai Ruoqi to further her strength, becoming one of the core students of the Xingyao College. That would also place them in greater limelight, assisting them better in the future. While that little girl Bai Ruoqi already made him lose face twice. It was time she was taught a lesson. How would he allow her to obtain that bottle? Hearing the crown prince actually take the initiative to give her money, to help her bid, caused Bai Ruoqi to feel very joyous. What did that mean? It meant that the crown prince was very satisfied with her, intending to marry her. So he is willingly to pay for her. Bai Ruoqi replied delightedly, "His Royal Highness, Chi'er is too moved." Her watery eyes fell on the prince, those adoring eyes greatly pleased the crown prince. He nodded slightly, "Hurry up and bid." Bai Ruoqi loudly cried, 101,000. Although she received 20,000 in funds, she still decided to cautiously increase it little by little. However, Huang Yuli's calm voice echoed once again. 120,000. 112,000. She clenched her teeth in response. 130,000. The entire auction fell into silence. No one thought that a small bottle of spirit-raising pills would shoot to such a high price. From the usual turnover of 70,000 to 130,000, nearly twice the normal price. Bai Ruoqi's hands were shivering. Even with the crown prince's support of 20,000 silvers, her money was still not enough. She looked back to the crown prince, seeing him also frown and not making any actions to help her. Bai Ruoqi knew that the crown prince felt at a loss to spend more than 130,000 silvers to buy a bottle of spirit-raising pills was too much. Because of Bai Ruoqi's questioning, the entire hall rose into an uproar. No one expected that the bidding clamor would have such a twist in direction. The person who was competing with Wu Wei Manor's second young miss was her younger cousin. Bai family's third young miss, Bai Ruoqi. This third young miss Bai was also a celebrity in the capital. The reason due to being her heaven-blessed father, Bai Lu Feng's only daughter. According to the rumors, when Bai Lu Feng was still present, he was one of the top 5 experts of South Sky region. He carried the fate of South Yu to reach the peak. After he disappeared, many had placed their hopes in his daughter. They felt that she would definitely be a cultivation genius, becoming an outstanding and proud female. Who knew that Rollercoasters would turn to be a cultivational wastrel? Since that moment, no one put her in their eyes. Yet her name was still very well known. All of the guests present, there was hardly anyone who did not know who she was. After a while, murmuring discussions began. Third young Miss Bai. She actually came. That is very strange. Didn't everyone say that third Miss Bai was a wastrel and very cowardly? Did the sun rise from the west today? She would come to the auction. What's so strange? Third Miss Bai definitely wants to obtain that bottle of spirit-raising pills. That should be why she came to attend the auction. But aren't these two cousins? They would fight to the death over a bottle of spirit-raising pills. Not differentiating between cousins. What's so big about fighting over pills? Did you hear the second young Miss words? She wants to report her cousin. TSK. Didn't they say that the second young Miss was kind-hearted and magnanimous? I think it's only a facade for outsiders to see. All sorts of different conjectures and analyses could be heard. Their faces filled with excitement. With the price of the spirit-raising pills coming to such a high, they would not be able to obtain anyway. To watch a fight between cousins would not make they suffer any losses. Shopkeeper's son did not predict this to occur. Wrinkling his eyebrows he said, Second Miss Bai, may I ask for your meaning? Since Rollercoasters had thrown all caution to the wind, she immediately replied, That's right. I remember that 1,000 Treasure Pavilion has a rule, those participating in the auction must have sufficient funds to bid. Once they successfully bid for an item, they must immediately pay for it. This would ensure they do possess enough funds and no malicious intentions. Otherwise they would immediately become someone no one will do business with. Is this not the case? Shopkeeper's son nodded his head in reply, There is a rule like this. This is to ensure fairness within the auction. Good. Since this is the case, then Rollercoasters does not have any right to sit there. She simply does not have that much money, and intentionally wants me to pay more. Hence the reason for her bids. Finger pointing towards the private room, Rollercoasters loudly proclaimed. Blank, shopkeeper's son responded, This cannot be possible. Third young Miss Bai is our 1,000 Treasure Pavilion's distinguished guest. She would not do such a thing. Rollercoasters said, Why is that not possible? Shopkeeper's son, you have not even confirmed anything and you already state that it is impossible. Are you purposely allowing for such malicious deeds to occur? This may also be the case. The higher the price of the pills go, the more commission 1,000 Treasure Pavilion will receive. Just with this kind of action, who would dare to come to your place shop in the future? Right? This kind of thing should be investigated clearly, right? That's right. If it was truly done with evil intent and 1,000 Treasure Pavilion does not deal with it appropriately, then I do dare to conduct any more business with 1,000 Treasure Pavilion. I wouldn't wait for someone to dig a hole and fall inside, right? Rollercoasters' word had a point, spurring many others to speak up. You can also listen on. Tilting her chin slightly, Rollercoasters displayed a delighted expression. That little slut dared to clash with her. Did she think that deliberately bidding against her would make her suffer a loss? Let's see how she would deal with this. In front of this many people, when 1,000 Treasure Pavilion discovered she is unable to pay, then she would be losing greatly. This, shopkeeper's son becomes somewhat awkward. He heard that third young Miss Bai was in the same private room as his new mysterious owner. Although he was unable to learn of the new owner's identity, one thing was certain. The new owner's strength was matchless with a very special background. He didn't even treat the crown prince's position as anything. If he were to start to question Rollercoasters, then there would a high chance of offending the owner. This kind of super expert, once angered, what kind of result will happen? These old bones of his still wished to live for a few more years. But if he were to continue to ignore this without rhyme or reason, it would greatly impact Thousand Treasure Pavilion's reputation. Bai Ruoqi was very clever, speaking straight into the hearts of the guests present. The biggest fear of an auction was the intentional bidding and the attempts to raise an item's price from evil parties. Now that someone was called into question, regardless of feelings and relationships, Shopkeeper's son must give them a logical reply. Shopkeeper's son was a very bad position. His eyebrows were so tightly creased that they could form knots. It was at that exact moment that Huang Yuli once again spoke out. Shopkeeper's son, no need to feel distressed. Since my second sister had voiced her concerns, then I should naturally comply and allow Thousand Treasure Pavilion to investigate me. If we do not give a proper explanation, then wouldn't I be branded as a person who maliciously raises auctions prices? This is a pot I refuse to carry. If this also affects Thousand Treasure Pavilion's prestige, then I will feel burdened. Her words were calm and orderly, devoid of haste or slow speed. Her tone was paced and level, filled with the natural charisma of an aristocratic lady. With those words, it turned the aggressive Bai Ruoqi into a cursing vixen. Everyone's view of her instantly changed. Suffering another hidden loss, Bai Ruoqi felt suffocated. With nothing good to retort, she could only say, "Since this is the case, I ask third sister to take out proof of your assets. I do want to see if you really possess that much money." "Proof, of course I will take it out. But, I must also ask you something, second sister. Since you have claimed something that paints me as a dishonorable person, what will you do if your claims are false?" Shocked at her response, Bai Ruoqi asked, "What do you mean, what will I do?" Huang Yuli lowly chuckled, "Second sister, your claims stated that I was purposely raising prices. If you are wrong, isn't it fair if you atone for that mistake? If everyone was like you, accusing others of maliciously raising because they cannot afford to bid, who will dare bid in the future? How can Thousand Treasure Pavilion continue to do business?" She immediately received understanding from many people. "That's right. That's right. Third young miss has a point. If malicious price-raising results in a ban from Thousand Treasure Pavilion, then slandering others should receive equal punishment." "Correct. If I remember correctly, there is a rule like this." Bai Ruoqi did not think for a moment Bai Ruoli's words would be that logical, that piercing. The crowd who was previously siding with her was instantly swayed and now stood with Bai Ruoli. And from her tone, it seems that she carries quite a lot of confidence. She wouldn't truly be able to take out proof. Bai Ruoqi was temporarily at a loss on what to do. Her heart was a mess, unsure to what truly lay hidden within Bai Ruoli's scheming heart. You can also listen on. Seeing that she was not responding, Huang Yuli went to urge her, "Second sister, how is that? You must give me an answer." Their gazes all turned to Bai Ruoqi. Being put onto the spot, she could only brace herself. "What are you scheming?" Huang Yuli lightly laughed, "Second sister, look at what you are saying. Do you think I will allow for you to be driven out by others over such a small misunderstanding?" When she heard this, Bai Ruoqi unexpectedly let out a breath of relief. She had been quite worried. In the unlikely case that by Ruoli taking out that much money, she would lose so much face when she was driven away. But now that Huang Yuli had stated her intentions, what could she do to her? Bai Ruoqi immediately regained her confidence and asked, "Then what do you wish to do? Let us make a bet." "Make a bet? We are betting whether or not I possess enough finances to purchase that bottle of spirit-raising pills." Suspiciously, Bai Ruoqi questioned, "How do we bet?" Huang Yuli's tone was especially tender and soft. "Very simple. Since this bottle of spirit-raising pills has reached such a price, the only two people willingly to purchase it would be you and me. Why don't we use it as our gambling stake? If I fail to provide enough silvers to purchase it, I will have lost this bet. The bottle of spirit-raising pills will thus belong to you, while I foot the bill. But if I am able to produce 130,000 silvers, then they will belong to me. As the silvers, second sister will provide for it. How does that sound? Blank, by Ruochi's expression quickly changed. You dream well. This kind of gamble, I will not agree to it. Huang Yuli let out a loose smile. Second sister, what do you mean? Why don't you dare to take the gamble? Did you not have quite a lot of confidence when you reported me and possessed evidence? Since it is like this gamble is in your favor. You don't need to use a single silver and will be able to obtain a bottle of spirit-raising pills. This kind of fortuitous affair, you don't dare take it. When she spoke like that, Bai Ruoqi's heart wavered. What kind of situation was this? This cheap slut would not be able kind-hearted. But she could not possibly possess 100,000 silvers. Could she? The heritage Bai Lu Feng left behind was stolen long ago by Bai Lu Jing. Her meal money wasn't even stable. So how could she possibly have 100,000 silvers? Second sister, what do you choose? Huang Yuli asked impatiently. This, second sister, I am practically giving you the spirit-raising pills, yet you are still so hesitant. Could it be you have hidden demons inside? Or does it mean, you purposefully framed me? How could I frame you? Then why are you afraid to accept the gamble? Let everyone judge for themselves. If this isn't a guilty heart, then what is it? With a smile that wasn't a smile, Huang Yuli asked. Listening to the conversation, the crowd was stirred up once again. That's right. Why don't dare take the bet? If you really have evidence, it would be equal to obtaining a bottle of spirit-raising pills. If such a good thing were to happen to me, I would have already agreed. Yeah. Could it be that she holds a guilty heart? Purposely framing. Hey, it's highly likely. Who doesn't know South Sky region's most famous mercenary was Bai Lu Feng? He definitely has accumulated quite a lot of wealth. As his sole daughter, how would she not be able to afford a bottle of spirit-raising pills? That, I am not too sure. From the rumors, due to her young age, quite a lot of Wu Wei Manor properties have transferred ownership. Third Miss Bai has no share of anything. Otherwise, why would second Miss Bai be this certain over the fact she has no money? It's clear she has inside information. My lord. They dare to such a thing. Isn't that a bit too shameless? You can also listen on. Since the father is this shameless, it's no wonder that the daughter has no restraint. Even daring enough to frame her own cousin. When she is the one asking her to gamble, she does not dare. Tisk. You really couldn't tell. To think I used to believe that the second young Bai was beautiful and talented but still possessed a great heart. Turns out it was all a lie. Listening to the roasts and exposing discussions, Bai Ruoqi was both angry and worried, her face completely red. Though was especially the case for the crown prince. Hearing those gossipers, his eyebrows knitted together an expression in deep thought. Being talked about from passerbys could be forgiven. But if the crown prince were to believe it and think she was a black-bellied and malicious female, then all hopes of marrying into the royal household would be greatly impacted. She could not allow them to continue to speak. Loudly, Bai Ruoqi proclaimed, complete nonsense. When did I hold a guilty heart? The reason I did not take the gamble is because you are full of lies and trickery. It is only because you are with a mysterious man, allowing you access into the VIP room. Many saw this. Because you have seduced a powerful man, you are preparing to use his money as proof. Hearing this, Wang Yuli really wanted to applaud her cousin. This reason was just too good. Not only did she shift the blame from the gamble onto her, it also hinted that she was clutching a man's thigh, ruining her reputation. If it were the previous Bairuoli, she would have long become mute from fear. It was unfortunate. The current person was her, Wang Yuli. Second sister, what are you saying? I am merely friends with that man, coincidentally meeting on the way here. That was why we came to the auction together. Didn't you also come with the crown prince, second sister? Are you guys not ordinary friends, or have hooked up together to do man-women things? Bairuoqi choked and was unable to speak. If she really pressed on the matter, claiming that Bairuoli had a suspicious relationship with men, then wouldn't she also be pulled out as an example? Having an intimate relationship with the crown prince. In any case, even if you are only ordinary friends, you are still able to borrow his money to cope with the situation. This isn't something unfair for the bet. Feigning a helpless look, Wang Yuli said, second sister, you are far too paranoid. I promise that I won't use anybody's money. If it's discovered I have lied, then it is also considered my loss. In such a large and open place, with such a large amount of witnesses, Thousand Treasure Pavilion's shopkeeper's son is also not a vegetarian. Am I still able to hide anything under such circumstances? Those words were spoken very open and candidly. But the more she acted like this, the more Bairuoqi felt something was off. Because Bairuoqi's hesitation lasted for a long time, the duration of the auction was extended. Even shopkeeper's son became somewhat impatient. Coughing lightly, he said, second Miss Bai, if you really have evidence, then I suggest you take the gamble. From what I can see, third Miss Bai's proposed bet is very fair. If you do not take the gamble, then it only serves to prove that you have framed her. And for Thousand Treasure Pavilion's reputation, this one must ask second Miss Bai to leave Thousand Treasure Pavilion, never to return. You. Teeth clenched firmly, Bairuoqi had no room to retreat or advance. At this moment, the crown prince suddenly spoke out. Enough. Don't hesitate any longer and bet with her. Bairuoqi stared at him blankly, Your Highness. The crown prince glared at her, displeased, things have already reached this point. If you don't bet with her, are you ready to be banned from Thousand Treasure Pavilion? This lord does not want to lose this face. Furthermore, Bairuoli is more or less overcomplicating things. She does not have that much money, so she deliberately created such a shocking affair to intentionally scare you. Are you not even able to see through this? You can also listen on. Thinking over the crown prince's words, Bairuoqi realized this really was the case. No wonder that cheap slut was so easy to talk to and willingly to cooperate. Her aim was to mislead her and gain her money. Her calculations were very good. She was nearly swindled by her. Thinking that she had grasped onto one of Wang Yuli's weaknesses, Bairuoqi's expression loosened in relief. Puffing out, she said, Okay. Since it's like this, I will gamble with you. Third sister, originally on the fact that you are my cousin, I did not wish for you to suffer such a loss. But you were so insistent on advancing like so, completely ignoring sisterly relationships and wasting my good intentions. As a result, second sister will give you a proper lesson and make you realize that words should not be recklessly spoken. On Bairuoqi's face hung a righteous and virtuous look while she looked up. In the process, she gained the support of some sympathetic crowd members. It was as if she really did not wish for Bairuoli to lose that money, hence her numerous refusals. But Bairuoli's constant heartlessness forced her hand. Due to her lifelike and believable acting, the previous indignant crowd instantly felt lost. Could it be that second Miss Bai acted like so in consideration of her younger cousin? She did not wish to harm her third sister, thus not accepting the gamble. How could there be such a kind-hearted person in this world? Did they really wrong her? But Huang Yuli replied in an indifferent tone, as if she did not understand the hidden meaning within those words. Good. Then shopkeeper's son and everyone present can bear witness to this. Pausing for a moment, she continued, here is a VIP black card issued from Clear Jade Bank under my own name. On the card, I have around 200,000 silvers deposited about 10 days ago. Shopkeeper's son, you can send someone to Clear Jade Bank to verify this. Clear Jade Bank is the largest banking firm in South Sky region, with branches in all of the countries in South Sky region. Once you deposit your money with Clear Jade Bank, you are able to withdraw it from any of its branches in South Sky region. It was a well-known fact that Clear Jade Bank's black card is only issued to distinguished guests depositing 100 silvers or more. Furthermore, only the owner of the card would be able to withdraw any money from the card. So the black card within Huang Yuli's hands only served to prove that she was in possession of that much money. Furthermore, the deposit date also proved that the sum had nothing to do with the man present. So as soon as Huang Yuli's words left her mouth, Bai Ruoqi's face whitened instantly. Eyed in shock, she fell into her seat, while her mouth constantly stuttering, impossible. How could this be? Where did you obtain the money? That black card is fake. Shopkeeper's son spoke up, this one naturally believes third young Miss Bai's words. As fate has it, the manager of Clear Jade Bank's South U branch is here today. This one will immediately send someone to retrieve the card, so I ask third young Miss Bai to cooperate with our inspection. Fine, no problem. Her words were strong and cold as they echoed out from the third floor. No need for the inconvenience. That voice was cold as ice, devoid of any emotion and not that loud. Like a sudden thunderclap ringing right next to everyone's ears. As soon as those words were said, an immense and domineering aura descended onto the entire auction. Every single person present felt their breathing turn sluggish and their faces whiten. Surprised, Huang Yuli couldn't help but turn to face the man beside her. She was uncertain as to why the man suddenly interrupted her. You can also listen on. His slender fingers reaching out, he took the black card from Huang Yuli's small hands. Strands of profound qi began to wrap around the black card, raising it into the air before descending down and flying away like a falling leaf. Stupefied, everyone watched the small black card descend stably down, all the way to Manager Sunday. That move was just too beautiful. Once a practitioner reached the defensive profound realm, apart from using profound qi as a bodily defense, they could also manipulate it to move other objects. Of course, just moving an object was nothing extraordinary to see. What was noteworthy was the hundreds of meters between the third-level VIP room and the auction stage. Even a practitioner at the peak of the defensive profound realm could only move objects within a 10-meter radius. Additionally, the man's control of his profound qi was so stable and precise. This clearly stated that the man's cultivation was far above the defensive profound realm. As to what his cultivation level was, of those present there wasn't a single person who would be able to answer it. Turns out that the affair Bai Ruoqi spoke about, regarding the mysterious expert beside third young Miss Bai was true. And this man wasn't ordinarily powerful. Able to beat the crown prince meant he was an exceptional master. Normally this would be a hot topic for gossip. But under the auction's atmosphere, the site became unusually quiet. With such a terrifyingly powerful expert on the third floor, who dared to badmouth third young Miss Bai, everyone became quiet from fear. There were even a few who restlessly lowered their head because they had spoken ill of Bai Ruoli. They all wished they could dig a hole and hide themselves within. Wiping the cold sweat from his forehead, Manager's son reached for the black card and passed it to Clear Jade Bank's branch manager Jean for inspection. Shortly afterwards, Manager Jean gave his verdict. Third young Miss Bai's words are true. To speak the truth, the day she came to register for this card, it was this old one who served her. Within her card are 200,000 silvers, more than enough to purchase the bottle of spirit-raising pills. The money within the card was the down payment manager's son had given to her when visited Thousand Treasure Pavilion. She considered the fact that she would be producing large amounts of profound armaments in the future to sell, resulting in her decision of saving funds with Clear Jade Bank. Just as he finished speaking, the card floated up and flew back into the third-floor room. Using 2 fingers, the man caught the card and delivered it to Huang Yuli. Little thing, here is your black card. Please look after it. Giving him a glare, Huang Yuli snatched the card from his hands and said in an angry puff, "Who told you to be meddlesome?" In the man's eyes, he felt that her angry and arrogant display was especially pleasant to watch. Heart itching, he closed in and smiled. "How did this lord vex you this time? Where was I meddlesome?" This lord was afraid that some people might secretly switch out your black card, hence why I helped to deliver your card down. This lord held such kind-hearted intentions, yet you thought this lord was meddlesome. Truly no conscience. Ah. Huang Yuli raised her eyebrow in response, and that was out of your own initiative. Do you want me to thank you? The man laughed muffledly. Thank, there is no need. A kiss for this lord will suffice. Get lost. Huang Yuli bestowed him an eye roll instead. In the meantime, standing on the auction stage, Manager's son had already announced the final results. Since it has been proven that third young Miss Bai did not maliciously raise auction prices, this shop will present third young Miss Bai with a lifetime discount of 10% as compensation. While the bidding for this bottle of spirit-raising pills will end here. The pills will be paid by second Miss Bai, belonging to third young Miss Bai for the final price of 131,000 silvers. You can also listen on. From the moment Huang Yuli took out that black card, Bai Ruoqi fell into a state of petrification with her face deathly white, like a dead person. At the beginning, she still held a silver hope that the card was a fake or not enough funds within. But after she heard Manager Jin's words, Bai Ruoqi fell into complete despair. Clear Jade Bank was the most reputable bank in South Sky region. It was not possible for them to lie during such an occasion. Huang Yuli did possess that much money. But how could this be? Where did that cheap slut obtain so much money? Weren't all the properties by Lu Feng left behind taken by her father already? Paralyzed in her seat, Bai Ruoqi's heart filled with terror. What should she do now? She had unexpectedly gambled. And it was under the eyes of countless people. There was no way she could deny it. What she owed were spirit-raising pills worth 130,000 silvers. Bai Lu Jing intended for her to obtain that bottle of spirit-raising pills to increase her cultivation, so he presented her with 100,000 silvers. But now, all her money had been spent while she still carried a debt of 30,000 silvers. After all that, she still failed to obtain those spirit-raising pills. All advantages were given to that cheap slut. It was as tragic as using a wicker basket to draw water. How was she supposed to explain to Bai Lu Jing once she returned? And where would she find the money to pay that extra 30,000 silvers? She couldn't possibly ask the Crown Prince, could she? The Crown Prince's expression was also unsightly to the extreme. That heavy aura served to further deter people from approaching him. 30,000 silvers was not a sum that he would classify as a family-ruining fortune, but his face had been slapped time and time again by Huang Yuli. He had personally confirmed that Huang Yuli was merely bluffing. Unfortunately, in less than 15 minutes, Huang Yuli had used facts to give a heavy slap. Bai Ruoqi may have been on the only to suffer from the gamble, but the face he lost was not any less than hers. Just as the two people was in the midst of their depression, they suddenly heard Manager Sun's words. Bai Ruoqi was instantly called awake. She cried out, "Manager's son, you must have calculated wrongly. Even if I lost, the sum should be 130,000 silvers. How is it 131,000 silvers? Manager's son replied to her, "Second Miss Bai, the one who placed the price of 130,000 silvers was not you, but third young Miss Bai. The auction has yet to end, so if you wish to obtain the spirit-raising pills there must be at least an increase of 1,000 silvers. This would make a total of 131,000 silvers. Please rest assured, this shop is very fair with its prices, making it impossible to overcharge its guests. Or could it be that the money you prepared is not enough? There was actually a method of calculation like this. 130,000 silvers was not the final price. But what manager's son was truth. The auction's rules were like so. Hurriedly, Bai Ruoqi shook her head, "No, no, no. I will add that 1,000, manager's son smiled, "Good. Then I congratulate second Miss Bai on successfully bidding, wait. Huang Yuli's voice sounded again, interrupting manager's son's announcement in the process. Her voice was just as sweet and gentle as before. But everyone had just witnessed her methods on cheating someone. So when they heard her voice again, it like they had all heard a monster's sound instead. Bai Ruoqi took man precautions as she looked up, "What do you want to do?" "Manager's son, the auction has yet to end. Since my second sister has added 1,000 silvers, am I also able to bid? I recall that I have yet to give up." Bai Ruoqi nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. She still hasn't given up. Is she prepared to increase the price? You can also listen on. According to the auction's rules, if Huang Yuli had yet to announce her renouncement, the auction would have yet to end. But the owner of the spirit-raising pills had been confirmed. Was there any meaning to increase the price? This would only serve as pure harassment. It was a miracle Bai Ruoqi did not faint on the spot. If Huang Yuli wished to continue bidding, she was completely unable to renounce bidding. Not mention she was completely unable to pay that amount. She couldn't even pay the 130,000. While Huang Yuli's black card held 200,000 silvers. She was absolutely capable to raise the price to 200,000 silvers. Bai Ruoqi was on the verge of collapsing. At that moment, the crown prince spoke through clenched teeth, "Bai Ruoli. Chia is still your cousin, so don't bully her too much." Raising her eyebrow, Huang Yuli did not expect the crown prince to speak up for Bai Ruoqi. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, what do you mean? Do you plan on speaking on behalf of my second sister? And what identity will you be holding, to help her fend this? I am just unable to continue watching this." The Crown Prince said heavily, "Bai Ruoli, you have already obtained all the advantages available yet still want to increase the price. Are you pushing your cousin onto the path of no return? You are both cousins, yet a few words from your mouth and you have swindled such a large amount of money from her. And you are still unrelenting. Not regarding anything towards sisterly relationships." Huang Yuli's tone frosted down, "Your Highness, your words are very amusing. Clearly it was second sister who disregarded sisterly bonds in falsely accusing me first. But now her losses are this disastrous, she can only blame herself. As the country's heir, your Highness' words should be spoken with evidence. Nobles from others attending today's auction are not a few. Speaking without thinking, inverting black to white will make Southview into a joke. You." The Crown Prince had intended to speak out and help Bai Ruoqi, but he was unable to outspeak Huang Yuli. In Southview, his words had always carried great weight. But today, he was constantly refuted and silenced by Huang Yuli instead. This experience was incomparably suffocating. Before he could retort her, Huang Yuli began to speak out again. But I am not someone who disregards sentiments. Though second sister deliberately wished to harm me, I am still willing to open the net from one side. I will voluntarily withdraw from bidding. This bottle of pills will be given to my second sister for 131,000 silvers. Bai Ruoqi nearly fainted, again. She swindled so much money from her and still said she'd yielded. She made merely stopped and further bids, yet she acted as if she owed her such a big favor. In actuality, Huang Yuli honestly felt that she yielded quite a lot today. When he heard her cold snort, the man regained himself and smirked. Little thing, why are you angry again? Is it because you can't bear to lose money? Then why did you put on the act of a great scholar, instead of directly increasing the price? With the backing of this lord, is there a need to be afraid of that something of a crown prince? Huang Yuli cast him a sidelong glance. What do you understand? Giving up bidding here, I will be able to earn even more money in the future rounds. If I were to scare them all here, how would I be able to earn money from them in the future? When he heard her words, the man was somewhat flabbergasted. What? You plan to swindle more money? From the looks of it, your second sister doesn't seem to have any money left. Even if you were to kill her, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to obtain a single penny more. What swindling? Don't spout nonsense. I am earning money honestly and openly. I am someone who has always been upright. Her mouth craftily hooked up. Though second sister is finished, there is still the crown prince, no? They say that our South Yu state treasury is flowing with money. The crown prince definitely has more than enough money. Looking at her for quite a while, the man took quite some time to process. He smiled and shook his head in response. And he thought that he was quite black-hearted normally. Meeting with this little thing, he realized that he was only a see-her-trail dust, never hoping to catch up. Once he compared himself to this little thing, he had become a good, kind and honest young lad. The biggest mistake the crown prince made today was to provoke that little fox. Looks like he must have a few more considerations and eyes in the future. Instead of obtaining a wife, he might be sold off by the little fox he admired. The auction for the spirit-raising pills finally ended. Because quite a lot of time had been consumed in this round, Manager's son couldn't help but speed up the bidding for the remaining items. Due to the exorbitant prices and bids that occurred in the previous bidding, many people had yet to recover themselves. As a result, the final prices of the items were not won at ideal prices. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Manager's son felt somewhat nervous. But when his gaze landed on the next item, his eyes suddenly lit up. His entire body energizing. Everyone. I ask everyone to settle down. The item is one of the most important and valuable treasures. If you were to miss this chance, you will definitely regret it. Once they heard those words, the people gradually began to clamor again before finally settling down. All their gazes turned to focus on the case placed in the center of the stage. They all felt a premonition. Sure enough, Manager cleared his throat and began to speak. I am sure that everyone has already heard for this auction. Thousand Treasure Pavilion was very fortunate to strike a deal with a mysterious armament master. This master has entrusted us to sell off a batch of third-leveled armaments in this auction. Of the people present, everyone erupted into an uproar. The majority of those present had come especially for those third-leveled armaments. Now they have finally appeared. The rumored treasures have finally shown their colors. Manager's son smiled out. As to how rare and scarce third-level profound armaments are, I believe that distinguished guests should more or less know. It can take many years for a third-tiered armament master to refine a profound armament at the third level. Each one an accumulation of their blood and sweat. And this time, we shall auction a total of 20 of these items. Each one is a third-leveled product. What's more important is, as he paused to look down, he saw everyone had holding their breaths in anticipation for his next words. Manager's son calmly continued, "By our conjecture, this armament master comes from a super sect and his refining standards deep and unmeasurable. It is highly likely that they have reached the 5th tier or higher. You can also listen on. Fifth tier or higher. Did I mishear? God! How is this possible? This kind of armament master is a person from Legends. If these were profound armaments refined by a 5th tier armament master, then they would definitely be stronger than ordinary 3rd leveled armaments. I really didn't come in vain today. I could actually witness a 5th tier armament master's works. Even if I cannot successfully bid for one, viewing one is already the accumulation of 3 lifetimes worth of fortune." As the guests below rose in an uproar, their eyes sparkled with excitement. Even the ever-gloomy-faced crown prince's spirit were raised from the news. He raised his head with great movement, heart beating rapidly. Today, he still didn't come in vain. The auctioned profound armaments from Thousand Treasure Pavilion truly surpassed his expectations this time. Even within Heavenly Body College, a 5th tier armament master's work was a treasure that few people would be able to hold. Although he had been wiped to the floor by Rollercoasters and the mysterious male beside her, if he was able to obtain that complete set of profound armor, then everything would have been worth it. Seeing as the atmosphere was once again set ablaze, the smile on Manager's son's became wider. "Then I will no longer wait on everyone's appetites. We shall begin to bid for the first 3rd leveled profound armament." In one swift movement, Manager's son whipped open the red sandalwood chest. The silver blade that lay within immediately started to glow with a dazzling light. As Manager's son took out the silver sword for all to see, he also introduced it. "This blade is named the Autumn Water Sword. Just from its outer appearance, I am sure that everyone is able to tell it is a profound weapon with formidable offensive capabilities." That's right, this blade is a 3rd leveled upper grade profound weapon and can amplify attacks by 6-fold. Anyone who heard this, all drew in their breaths. 3rd leveled upper grade. Amplification of 6-fold. And this is the first time for me to ever see a 3rd leveled profound weapon. Truly deserves a reputation. Not just well-deserved reputation. I once heard that a 3rd leveled upper grade profound weapon is capable of amplifying attack prowess by 3 folds, for good ones. Where else this blade has actually reached 6-fold. This is something difficult to achieve even for 4th leveled upper grade profound weapons. Was it me who misheard, or Thousand Treasure Pavilion who spoke incorrectly? Hearing the discussion and misgivings of the crowd below, Manager's son smiled with great satisfaction. Today's profound armaments have all been personally verified by the Armament Guild's vice president, guaranteeing its grade and abilities. There is no possibility of being incorrect. However, to convince my honored guests, we have specially hired a practitioner to test it. As he said this, a few practitioners clothed in black, light armor walked onto the stage. Manager's son began to introduce. These bodyguards are commanders of our Thousand Treasure Pavilion Defense Force. They are 3rd stage Spirit Profound Realm cultivators. For the next act, it shall be them who will test the profound armament for all to see. As his words fell, restlessness coursed below. Within South U, Spirit Profound Realm practitioners were very rare and could all become lords. The Emperor himself would also have to take the initiative to win them over. While Thousand Treasure Pavilion actually Spirit Profound Realm practitioners as bodyguards. Not even the Emperor would be this extravagant. How deep did Thousand Treasure Pavilion's power run? All the while, the Crown Prince was staring at the stage rigidly, face pale. He had recognized the face. That bodyguard was the exact guard who had blocked his steps at the entrance. No wonder that bodyguard was not afraid of him, the Crown Prince. It was all because his cultivation was far above his. he didn't put him in his eyes. You can also listen on. Though the Crown Prince felt very stifled, he couldn't help but rejoice. Thankfully he didn't do any drastic moves. Otherwise, he would have tripped greatly in Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Clearing his throat again, Manager's son interrupted the crowd below. It is not proper to delay affairs, so I invite the guards to test for everyone. I will first invite Guard Chi to strike this strength testing stone with a normal sword. Raising a normal iron sword, Guard Chi walked to the side of the stage. In the corner, stood a strength testing stone about the height of 2 people. This strength testing stone was a common method of testing a cultivator power in the Tianling continent. During school entrance examination, this would be used quite frequently. Walking expressionlessly towards the strength testing stone, he suddenly raised the blade and slashed out. As the blade struck the strength testing stone heavily, a loud boom sounded. Straight after, it snapped in two. In addition to this, the chi wave caused from the strike spread out in all directions, taking the breath away from the guests in the first few rows. Meanwhile, the crystal on the strength testing stone was undulating a multitude of colors. It was only after a good while did it stabilize. Walking up, Manager read and announced the result, 28,000 Gene. How amazing! That Guard Chi should be around the Spirit Profound Realm's 2nd or 3rd levels. Quite a few people began to discuss amongst themselves. Manger's son continued to speak. Next, I will ask Guard Chi to pick up that 3rd leveled upper grade profound armament, the Autumn Water Sword. Allow everyone to see if it truly has that much offensive power. Nodding his head, Guard Chi took up the Autumn Water Sword and once again stood in front of the strength testing stone. Falling into the same position as before, he raised the sword with great focus and slashed out. As his profound energy poured into the sword, the dazzling glow began to intensify and light up the entire auction site. Everyone subconsciously covered their ears, fear that there would be an even loud sound than before. On the contrary, all they heard was a chi sound. On the side of the large strength testing stone, that swirl had actually left a profoundly deep mark. One had to know that this strength testing stone had endured many strikes from countless masters. It was many times sturdier than ordinary iron. Very quickly, the crystal on top ceased its fluctuations. Before Manager's son could announce the result, those below the stage had erupted into a frenzy. 45,000 Gene. It's actually 45,000 Gene. It really is 6-fold. Just from the strike's power alone, it has already reached the Spirit Profound Realm 5th level. God! Just with this blade, you would be able to contend against the 3rd stage practitioners at the lower level. Too mystical. This sword, I must obtain it. Hearing the enthusiastic exclamations below, Manager's son could no longer conceal his happiness. He immediately declared, 3rd leveled upper grade profound weapon Autumn Water Sword starting price is 100,000 silvers. I ask for everyone to begin their bids. 120,000. 150,000. 200,000. Towards a vassal level power, 200,000 was already considered an enormous amount. To use that much for a single-use pill, many people were unwilling. But towards an armament that could be passed down to their descendants, even if they were to use all their family's fortune, if they were able to obtain it, it would be worthy. Even those sitting in the VIP rooms, the various royalties could not hold themselves back any longer. Gradually, each one began to add their bids. In a blink of an eye, the starting price had been increased by several folds. You can also listen on. Inside the private room. As her hands were propped under her chin, Wang Yuli's pair of intelligent bright eyes looked at the crowd below. As she watched, her mouth parted in surprise. As the man watched from the side, he had another sudden urge to pinch her cheeks. Especially after he saw a rare expression of blankness. Mouth hooking, he went to pick up the teacup to personally pour and serve Huang Yuli. Little girl, what are staring blankly for? The price has only reached 500,000 silvers, but it's enough to shock you. Turning her head, Huang Yuli rolled her eyes at him. I wasn't at loss over the silvers, I was at a loss over your shamelessness. You opened your mouth to causally say that this mystery master is a 5th-tier armament master. And declared they were someone from a great sect. You sure can lie. You are indeed a shameless profiteer. The man's eyebrows raised coolly. You cannot slander this Lord. Ah. Hidden sect, was it not you who said to Manager Sun? As for the matter of 5th-tier armament master, it was a blind guess on Manager Sun's account. But he did not say it was for certain, just that there was a possibility. Do you understand a possibility? Huang Yuli stared at him for a while and said only one sentence, shameless. Ah, you. Because she had to hide her identity, she had to fool Manager Sun and said this mysterious master of hers was in closed-door cultivation. But hasn't this man already seen through her? Yet he pushed the responsibility on her. As for that set of maybe, probably, roughly argument, that was completely deceiving the consumers. The Huang Yuli from the past, though had far surpassed the 5th tier, her strength was still lacking. So she did not have the nerve to paste this gold on her face. Yet this man dared to say it. And still so many people believed his words. Moreover, this man was not ashamed. On the contrary, he was proud of it. Showing such clear dislike towards him, he still flashed an extremely mesmerizing smile. Somewhat proudly she said, flattery, flattery. This is but necessary propaganda. Can you not see that your profound armament is selling at a high price? This is all because of this lord's hard work. Show off. Lips pursed, Huang Yuli whipped her head around. Downstairs, the auction for the autumn water sword had entered the final stage. 270,000. 280,000. 300,000. 500,000. From the left side of the VIP room, came a low male voice, suddenly raising the price to 500,000. For a time, no one continued to bid. Manager Sun began the countdown from 3. The autumn water sword was soared to the final price of 500,000 silvers. Ordinarily, a third-leveled upper-grade profound weapon would generally be auctioned at about 300,000. Though Huang Yuli's sword increased attack power more than usual, it would at most be raised to 400,000 or so. Yet the current price was higher than the market price by 100,000. It most definitely was linked to the shameless and exaggerating advertisement of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Subconsciously, Huang Yuli looked towards the man, coincidentally making eye contact. Though the mask covered the man's face, but that pair of profoundly inky eyes was like a magnet, sucking her soul inside. Huang Yuli fell into a bit of a daze. Little thing, did you become stupid from looking at this lord for too long? She didn't regain herself, until she heard the man's low laughter. You think too much. She pursing her mouth, her face fluttered with an embarrassing flush. Unknowingly, the man's hand had flitted towards her hands. As those artistically beautiful fingers slid across her hand, they left a shuddering feeling. You can also listen on. Slender eyebrows raised, Huang Yuli was about to withdraw her hand. Unexpectedly, the man firmly gripped onto her lean wrist. What? This lord assisted you in earning this much money and you don't show the least bit of gratefulness. Playing with her slender jade fingers, the man's mouth hooked up again. Murmuring in a low voice, it became huskier and even more seductive. This man was born with the innate ability to seduce females. Even if his appearance was not visible, his overbearing power and charismatic demonism was more than enough to make others lose sense of themselves. Huang Yuli was the exception. Sweeping her gaze over the man, she said coolly, "Release your hand. I don't like others touching me." He smiled, not releasing. "This lord is afraid you will go back on your word. How about this, tell me how you will repay this lord?" Huang Yuli responded, "Your skin sure is thick." Thousand Treasure Pavilion had originally planned to take their portion of commission from this auction. "I will not go back on my word. Your intention is for me to compensate you through another means. Since you are this miserly, I will increase your commission by 1-fold. This should be fine. This is the first time I am meeting such a petty person." The man's mouth parted. This little girl's mouth really was toxic. Said he was petty. Very good. This account he shall remember it well. In the future, he will show her how much of a magnanimous man he was. Unknown to what charming scene he had imagined, the man revealed a pleasant smile. Money, this lord does not put in his eyes. Profound armaments, this lord is also not lacking in. If you want to use commission to deal with this lord, this will be unacceptable. But if you were to devote your heart, the man scanned her from top to bottom. Puffing out in laughter, "When your 2 poached eggs can grow to the size of little steamed buns, then this lord can think about it." "What poached eggs?" "Little steamed buns." All Huang Yuli felt was the strangeness in the man's smile. But blanking out for a short while, she realized what he meant. Instantly her cool and calm face turned into a resentful ONT. As Huang Yuli stared at those perfectly shaped lips, she really wished she could rip them to shreds. A dog's mouth will never be able to spit out ivory. Constantly she had told herself that before the auction finished, the man still held great value. Plus, she was currently within his territory. If she were to go up against him now, it would put her at a great disadvantage. Hence her self-control and not presenting him a slap on the cheek. When the man saw the little fox's gaze become more and more malevolent, he decided to quit while he was ahead. Slow retracting his hand, he said coolly, "Tisk tsk. Just making a small joke. Little thing, you have such a big temper. Such a violent woman, careful you cannot be married off in the future. This is a case of taking advantage and still asking them to be obedient." Huang Yuli raised her chin and frostily said, "What does that have to do with you? You should worry more about yourself. Always finding the flaws in others, so be careful that you don't age prematurely. Otherwise in a few years' time, then that place might become useless." Because the man was drinking some tea, he choked on his tea when he heard her words. He coughed for quite some time before recovering. Was it necessary for this little fox to be this poisonous? Did she really have to curse him so? Did she have even a little bit of a conscience? Furthermore, if he were to become incompetent, wouldn't be her bad luck? Luckily Huang Yuli was oblivious to the man's inner thoughts. Otherwise a great battle would erupt in this private room. While these two people were in the midst of their quarrel, the auction below had gone through various rounds already. One by one, each of Huang Yuli's profound armaments were carried one stage. Each profound armament's bidding reached outstanding heights. You can also listen on. For everyone, this was the first time they had ever witnessed such a large amount of third-leveled profound armaments. So each time a new profound armament was brought on stage, the garnered reactions were surprise and admiration. From the accumulation of anticipation within the atmosphere, it became more and more rowdy. Coupled with the ingenious hyping executed by Manager Sun, many large families who did plan on participating were also roused and began to bid. They too stepped into the ranks bidders. The final prices of each new profound armament also rose higher and higher. So much that for 1/3 leveled profound armament that could increase cultivational speed, had been sold for the astronomical price of 1,000,000 silvers. This caused Manager Sun's smile to beam so wide that later, he could not even close his mouth. So much money. After this many years of hosting auctions, the total amount of silvers spent in each auction could not compare to today. When the mood had reached the highest peak, Manager Sun coughed lightly and said, "Everyone, please settle down. Please settle down for a short while." But those below still continued their ruckus. Wrinkling his eyebrows, Manager Sun spoke again. This time he shouted loudly, "Everyone, please do not be hot-tempered. Those who did not successfully bid for a profound armament, do not worry. Because we are about to reveal the highlight of this auction." Once his words fell, the noise immediately stopped. Numerous eyes were bulged open in surprise without blinking as they fixed their undivided attention to the stage. This highlight treasure had already, 7 days prior, been painted out by Thousand Treasure Pavilion, spreading throughout the entire capital. In the legends, only advanced grade armament masters would be able to refine a profound armament set. Although it was at the 3rd leveled, profound armament sets were extremely rare. It was definitely something that an ordinary 3rd-tiered profound armament was incapable of creating. You didn't even need to mention their boundless might. The true buyers had all come for this set of profound armor. Clapping his hands, 13 beautiful women walked on stage, each carrying a silver casket. The entire set of that profound armor was displayed for all to see. Under the lightning, each component of the profound armor glowed a dark cyan color which matched with engraved carvings. This made it seem all the more mysterious and powerful. The bustling auction hall instantly turned tranquil and calm. Every single person held their respective breaths as they observed in admiration towards the work on stage. Manager Sun said, "This profound armor set consists of 13 components. Each one is able to increase offensive power by 2-fold individually. Once they are completed to form a complete entity, one's defensive power is risen explosively. It would be approximately 3 times stronger than a practitioner at the defensive profound realm. Apart from this, there is active attack type profound skill, Dark Vortex." Dark Vortex. What profound skill is this? Right? How come I have never heard of it? Towards the questions and musings of the crowd below, Manager Sun was unperturbed. This is the first time that this profound skill is seen. It may possibly be a personal skill of this hidden master's. After going through a round of testing in Thousand Treasure Pavilion, we have concluded that its attack power is immense. It can increase the attack by 5 times, dealing a critical blow to the opponent. Furthermore, it has an additional cursing attribute that will greatly decrease the opponent's speed and offense. What? 5-fold. And it also has an additional curse. How could this be? Such a powerful profound skill should be at the black level middle grade. To carve and meld this profound skill into the profound armor, how high would this armament master's skill be? Right. This is just too amazing. Manager Sun, are you purposely speaking such lies to raise the price of this item? You can also listen on. Holding on to his beard, Manager Sun said in a stern tone, "Our Thousand Treasure Pavilion businesses were always honest and upright. How could we possibly lie to everyone? Since this profound armor set became the highlight product of this auction, it would also be tested on site to reveal its effects for all to see." Then he smiled and said, "Below, the Armament Guild's Vice President Yen, who will personally test this profound armor for us." Grandmaster Yen. Did I hear incorrectly? It's actually Grandmaster Yen. Thousand Treasure Pavilion really isn't simple. To be able to invite Grandmaster Yen to personally test this work. The audience marveled at Thousand Treasure Pavilion's large influence in shock. One must know that the Armament Guild was a very arrogant group. To invite them to test credibility of a product, in their view, was a degrading task. And only those lower-class people would do such a thing. Toward such a respectable profession, an armament master would not undertake such a dangerous job. Not to mention that Grandmaster Yen was a stately third-tiered armament master. In South Yu, he was a highly respected and famous old man. It was simply a miracle for Thousand Treasure Pavilion to invite such a character. As Manager Sun listened to those praises, his smile turned very mysterious and unreadable. In actuality, he knew the truth far better than anyone else. The reason behind Grandmaster Yan's trip today was not through his invitation, but out of his own wishes. Grandmaster Yan most definitely did not come on behalf of Thousand Treasure Pavilion's face. He came purely because he was impressed by such high-leveled work seen through this profound armor set. Even at the expense of several trips to request to examine the piece, he was still declined. In order to grab the opportunity to have a close examination of this work of art, he even volunteered to test it at the auction. Sacrificing himself. Unfortunately, even if he was ready to put his life on the line, the mysterious master would also refuse to see him. Under the supervision of Grandmaster Yen, the test process was carried out in a strict and orderly manner. Meanwhile, in the private room, the legendary creator Huang Yuli merely hooked her lips in an arc, a ray of sharp light passing through her eyes. Sitting to her side, the Lord of Thousand Treasure Pavilion narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw her sly smile. This little fox, what ghostly idea is she thinking of again? Coincidentally, Huang Yuli turned towards him, making eye contact. Huang Yuli then revealed a toothy grin and said, "Lord Owner, I have an idea. I wish for you to lend me a few of your bodyguards to use. This will enable for this profound armament to sell for a higher price. Do you have an interest?" The man became startled momentarily, not answering immediately. When this little girl exposed her 2 rows of orderly and white teeth, those light pink lips were like cherry blossoms, incomparably beautiful and lovely. Just like misty pearls, suddenly releasing a dazzling brilliance. Simply breathtaking. More importantly, it was the first time that the little fox laughed so amicably towards him. It even seemed a bit illogical. The man slowly spat out 2 words, "No interest." "You." That smile disappearing instantly from the little fox's face. Turning fierce, she stared at him. "Did you not say that you will make money for me? Lord Owner, why are you backing out so soon? A man should possess a little credibility, no?" "Okay." The man shrugged his shoulders and said, "How much can 1 gene of reputation be worth? Can you use it to feed yourself?" The tone he spoke in was not particularly dull. But in the current situation and under that circumstance, it seemed especially flat in Huang Yuli's ears. "Your face is really thicker than the walls." "Flattery, flattery." The man turned the topic around. "However, if you are willing to kiss this lord, then this lord can consider helping you. You can also listen on." Huang Yuli was a bit startled, before a faint layer of anger appeared on her face. "Lord Owner, if you take advantage of others, you are not a gentleman." As the man slowly neared her, the corners of his mouth shifted into a radiant arc. "This lord has never said he was some gentleman." He leaned forward and without leaving any part her petite body exposed, he enveloped her within his embrace. This was a very strong invasion of her privacy. In the blink of an eye, the only sound that could be heard was the man's steady breathing. Those thin and perfect lips slightly pursed and almost within reach of Huang Yuli's own. Huang Yuli withdrew subconsciously, but was firmly pressed down by a large hand unable to move her seat. "You, what do you want?" As a result of the man's close proximity, Huang Yuli's voice was as light as a mosquito. He was so close that a simple small movement would immediately cause them to touch lips. His eyes hanging down, he wantonly looked at Huang Yuli's 7 parts young and childlike face. That little fox's usual confident face was in rare moment of panic, entrancing and tickling his heart. He huskily smirked, "Kiss this lord, your wish, this lord will complete it for you, this transaction, isn't it very good?" Huang Yuli's eyes clouded and immediately made up her mind. Looking to the side, she shot forward to give the man a light peck on the mouth. What the Lord of Thousand Treasure Pavilion said was correct. A small kiss that could be exchanged for an extremely large profit was not a business lacking in any way. In her past life, before she had the chance to touch a man's finger, she was sent to the death row. Though this sort of frivolous affair was never experienced, she still heard of such events occurring. Merely a kiss. It was nothing really. She could just treat it as a small dog's bite. When the man suddenly felt a soft and tender beyond imagination touch, he was rooted to the ground. Those light lips, with that sweet and fresh mesmerizing breath, was all the more fascinating. Unfortunately, it lasted merely for a breath. Before he could fully experience that feeling, it disappeared once again. "You want to deal with me like that? No way." Sensing the little fox's intention to flee, he moved his caging hand from her shoulder to her waist. This forced a change in her trajectory, allowing her fall into his arms. Immediately, he bowed his head and resolutely pressed his lips onto hers. Unfortunately, before he could re-experience that wonderful feeling he yearned for, a searing bout of pain flooded from his neck. Stopping his movements, the man did not dare look down. He watched as the seemingly weak and innocent little fox display her sharp canines to display her exceptionally innocent laugh, while her pair of slender little hands tightly held a small dagger about 15 centimeters long. This dagger was obviously of very high-level profound armament. It was as thin as butterfly wing. The man leisurely lowered his eyes to the same level as those pair of crafty and large ones. Meanwhile, the sharp dagger was still pressed on his throat, blood flowing incessantly. However, his face did not reveal the slightest bit of fury. On the contrary, his eyes actually revealed abundant interest. This little fox is too intelligent. She was completely aware of her influence over him. During the instance in which his guard was lowered, she took the opportunity to capture his weak point. She was truly ruthless, using his unwavering feelings against him. Unfortunately, he just liked her various plots and crafty mind, coupled with that charming smile of hers. No matter how much or little blood he shed, he would still feel a sense of satisfaction. Huang Yuli on the other hand had taken all sorts of measures, afraid he would counterattack in a fit of fury. She truly did not expect the man to smile. That smile unknowingly caused her scalp to numb. Biting her lip, she rolled her eyes at him. "Why are you laughing? Do you think that I am really afraid of you? Let me tell you, killing person is a small thing for me. Stabbing you once is nothing. Little thing, why are you treating this lord so harshly?" The man continued to smile while retreating a few steps. "It's not like this lord refused to help you. Furthermore, that was such a half-hearted kiss. Could you call that a kiss? When you are conducting business, you must be upright. Otherwise, wouldn't you be sorely lacking in sincerity?" Shifting her gaze around, Huang Yuli raised her arrogant eyes. Speaking in an icy tone, she said, "This is just how I conduct my affairs. Once the products are taken out, they cannot be exchanged. Now hurry up and pay. Tsk tisk." Shaking his head in a very exaggerated manner, the man suddenly poked out his tongue to lick the area she had just kissed. Soon after, he began to smack his lips as if he was attempting to recall the experience. Those actions were just too ambiguous. When those actions were paired with his impeccably handsome lower face, it seemed all the more seductive and alluring. If not for the fact that Huang Yuli had met no small amount of peerless males, her face would have long turned red from those movements. Quite pleased at himself, the man looked at her captivating face and smiled. Your family's goods are so lacking and a bit rough. In the future, this lord will properly teach you. This time, I will let you off. As soon as he finished his comment, he called out, Mochi. An expressionless guard, clothed in black armor, walked in and gave his bow and salute. Master, please instruct. Third young Miss Bai has a task that needs your assistance. Go report to her for your orders. This subordinate obeys. Walking towards the two people, he lifted his head. His eyes widened in surprise and nearly froze in place. What did he see? On his Honorable Highness' neck was a trail of blood. How could this be? With His Highness' cultivation, there should not be a single person capable of injuring a single hair of his. Just how did he sustain those wounds? During this moment of shock, the blood-stained short dagger within Huang Yuli's grasp entered Mo Chi's line of sight. It's you. You injured the master. He then put on a false facade of pondering and instantly struck out towards Huang Yuli. The violent profound chi instantly engulfed her. Huang Yuli didn't foresee Mo Chi's dramatic reaction. Adding on the fact that he was also a practitioner of the fourth stage, the Dan Profound Realm, the powerless Huang Yuli was entirely suppressed by his power. In that moment of time, not a single one of her movements were capable of coordinating with her thoughts. Despite the countless methods her brain recalled that could counter Mo Chi's blow, her body was incapable of executing them. Even the simplest action of dodging was impossible. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.